Hi there. Thanks for talking to me about your submission for the Chapter 3 Problem Solve. Let's walk through the formulas so that we can understand how they're constructed and why they work the way that they do. So you can see on the screen I have the results from the My IT Lab system for your submission. In addition, here on the right hand side there's a button that says Download Submitted File, which I've already gone ahead and I downloaded the file which you've submitted so that we can look exactly at the work that was submitted and see how to fix it. Okay, so I'm just going to move this window. I'm going to attempt to move this window out of the way. If it doesn't resize itself on me, well, we'll try it. And the first step that we're going to look at is step 2, where it says, if I can scroll up a little bit, there it lets me, on the renovation sheet in G6, calculate the new capacity that the room will hold. So here I have the file that was submitted and I am active on cell G6, and you've got a good shot at this formula, but so let's just think it through in English what we want to have happen. We know that the room originally held 500 people and that after the renovation there'll be a 30% increase. So what we're going to do is we're going to take because I'm on G6, we're going to take the information in F6, which you have correctly here. I'm going to say F6 multiplied by, and then F6. Oh, sorry. Let me back up. This one is right. F6 multiplied by B13, and then we're going to add that to the original F6. So it's the 500 times the increase. We're going to do that, and then we're going to add it to the original 500. And then I'm going to press enter to have that accepted there. Make sure your answer is correct, and then autofill it down. And I was so pleased to see you had the exact correct application of relative references versus absolute references. That was perfect. So you were very nearly there. Okay, let's take a look at the next one. Here where it says, in cell I6, enter the formula to determine the projected quarterly revenue after renovations. So I'm going to scoot on over in your worksheet to I6, and we have the same kind of situation here where we're taking an original amount. Here's our original revenue, and we're just going to calculate what that revenue will be after the renovation. So you have it very nearly correct. We just want to use the addition symbol there. So we're going to take that original revenue plus the original revenue times the increase. And then also I just want to mention that you did the exact right thing here. Instead of using the absolute reference, you used the name. So perfect on that one. I'm going to go ahead and hit enter to accept that change, and then I'm going to autofill it down the way. And then one thing I want to mention is that as you're making these corrections, don't forget that you can check your work here in the My IT Lab system. You can click this down arrow to see what exactly didn't it like, and then, for example, check your results. So I'm looking for an answer of $406,000. Sorry, it's early in the morning. $406,000, and I can come back here and check to see, yeah, that's exactly what I've got. So we're good to go on that one. All right, next up, in cell B15, enter the function to calculate the median length of renovation in days. Assign the name range median days to the cell. So in this one, you want to be able to use, you want to first assign that name, and I can't remember if you did or not. Let's go take a look at your sheet. So in B15, there you have the name median days, and then the trick is then in this formula, you have to use that name. So you earned some of the points for this one. Let me take a look and see what exactly it didn't like. Oh, so we don't have the right results. Okay, so in B15, in B15 the formula was not set to 8, or the result is not set to 81. So we have the median of, oh, I see. So you're calculating the median, but you're missing one of the inputs. So instead of using the inputs like this, where you have D6, comma D7, I'm going to delete that out, and I'm just going to say all the way through D6, all the way through D10. No commas are needed. Press enter, and we still have 60. What do we got? Oh, we have to fix this one. Okay, so we're going to go a little bit out of order. So later on down the line, we calculate the length of renovation in days. And you did, I saw this earlier, you did a terrific job trying to figure out what function to use to make this calculation. And this one is really tricky because we're using a function that does not normally appear in the list of functions. We learned this one in class. So click on cell D6, delete what you have there, except for you can keep the equal sign. And the function name that we're going to use is, if I could spell it right, date diff. And it's going to calculate the difference between two dates. And this is the one that we learned in class. It's also in your textbook, date diff. So apply all of the rules that we talked about for writing a function. You start with the equal sign, you add the function name, you add your left-hand parentheses. Now we need our first argument. And for us, that's going to be our first date here in B6. Add a comma to separate out the next. So now we're ready for the second argument of the function. That's going to be C6. So what we're telling Excel is find the difference between these two dates, add another comma. The third argument is where we tell Excel how we want the results returned. And we want the results returned in days. So I'm going to add the letter D in the quotation marks. So it's quote, capital letter D, quote, and that'll have the results returned to me in days. Add your ending parentheses, press enter, and then autofill that through the column. And great, now we have, did you see the sort of cascading effect? Now that we have the correct calculations in the D column, that gives us a correct calculation in B15, and then that just has cascading effects all over the place because we use B15 in other formulas and functions. All right, okay, so make that correction, and then let me back up. So I was here on B15. Okay, so that'll give you the points there for step 6. In step 7 then, we're asked to enter an if function to display the word under if the cells are going to take fewer than the median number of days, or display the word over if it's going to that's the false statement, if it doesn't go under. Use the named range for B15, which we just looked at in this function. Okay, so let's take a look at, let's see if I can scroll over here. I'm going to take a look at your if statement. And what we want to see here is, so first of all, what we want to see is the number of days that this room took less than or equal to median days. So let's correct your test. Your test is not quite right here. So what I want to see is D6 less than or equal to median days? I'm going to use that name that we assigned to B15. So is D6 less than or equal to median days? That's the test. You have the comma. Now here's what we're telling Excel to do. If that test is true, return the word under. If that test is false, return the word over. Then you don't need anything after that. So it's the test, what to do if the test is true, what to do if the test is false. Let's press enter and then fill that down, and let's see what we get for some answers. And then we'll just double check. Is 124 days over or under our median, which was 81 days? If I scroll back here a little bit, it's over, and so the result tells me over, and the same is true there. For row 8, the renovation took 81 days. So is that equal to or less than 81? Well, we're going to return the result under because it is. It's equal to or less than. So that will correct it for that step. Let's keep moving on. You can see we have other things to keep working on here. In cell B21, let's take a look at your payment function. You got most of the points here, so there's just a little correction to make. But let's skip this one for now. I want to go ahead and fix this, K6, the VLOOKUP. So our instructions tell us use a VLOOKUP function to determine the projected room classification based on projected quarterly revenue in cell I6 and use the name room classification. Okay, so we can do this. I'm going to just zoom down a little bit so I can get more information on my screen here. See if I can get it like this. So K6 holds our first VLOOKUP function. And you have here, so we want to know based on projected revenue. Okay, so let me look at the instructions again. We want to use, oops, sorry. Let me hit enter to that. We want to use projected revenue, quarterly revenue after renovations. That's what we want to compare to our table. Okay, so back up to K6. Let's just scratch this and start from the beginning. So what we want to know is the projected quarterly revenue after renovations, which is a long title. That's I6. That's the value we're going to look up, and we're going to tell Excel, compare that value to our table below. And if we scroll down a little bit, we'll remember that that table rests down here. So with my mouse, I'm going to select A24 through B27. And when I select that range, Excel will automatically pop in the name of that range because we already have a name existing. And that's exactly what the instructions want us to do. Okay, another comma. So what we're telling Excel is take that value in I6, compare it to the table, and then we want to say return to us the classification that we've assigned it. And that classification happens in the second column of the table. So here in our VLOOKUP function, we're going to type the number 2. That tells Excel, return to us the value in the second column, in column number 2, that matches the amount. So if we think about this for ourselves, $406,000, if I look down here, well, that's going to be a match to silver. Okay, now you can add a comma and type the word true. These matches have to be an approximate match. And I can tell this by looking at it again. I have a value of $406,000, and in my table there is no exact match to 406, so it has to be an approximate match. Put in your ending parentheses, press enter, and it is silver. That's what we expected it to be. Then fill it down and double check the rest of them to make sure that it worked the way it should be working, right? You always got to keep your eyes on Excel. All right, now I think that's it. We can go back up and take a look at this payment function. So the results say in cell B21, enter the payment function. You have almost all of the points there. Oh, but the result is not quite right. Okay, let's take a look at your payment function. Here in cell B21, we have use of the payment function. Oh, I see what you've got going on. Oh, there's a couple things. So the result is not correct. Let's start fresh with this one so that we can walk through it all together. Okay, so delete out everything after that first parentheses. Our payment function, here are our arguments for the payment function. The first thing is that we need the rate of the loan, and that is sitting in B19, and the B19 number, what is that, 6%, represents the rate of the entire loan. So we need to take that and say divide by 12, because we're calculating the monthly payment. Okay, add your comma. The next thing is the number of payments. Well, if we think about how many payments we'll make over the life of this loan, it's going to be the years of the loan times 12, because we're going to pay a little bit every month, and there's 12 months a year. All right, so that's our number of payments. Add a comma, and then the last one is that PV. What's the present value of the loan? And here we see the amount of the loan is in B18. And then add your ending parentheses and wait. So I'm going to add that ending parentheses. And I'll remember, we talked about this in class where we want the result to be a positive number. If we press enter now, it's going to appear as a negative number, and yours was a negative number. We want to convert that to a positive number. So I'm going to put my cursor before the P in PMT, and I'm going to add a minus sign. Making a negative makes it a positive. So I'll press enter, and there's our result. And then let's see, does it tell us what our result should be? Yeah, here. So I already clicked the arrow to step 8, and it says the result was not set to 2,387. And mine, if I add my decimals, I'll see, oh, other way. If I add a couple decimals, I can see that it's a match. I was just rounding up there. So that should be it. I'm going to let you do the very last one, which is add the file name to the left footer. We know how to do this because we do footers all the time. Add that one, save your work, submit it to the My IT Lab system, and then let me know if you have any questions at all.